Here we are with Overwatch This. I'm Jeff from the Overwatch team.
Hello Internet and welcome to another episode of Overwatch This. We've hit episode 45. The numbers have kind of stopped meaning anything at this point until we hit about 50 and then 100 and then, I don't know, we'll probably all die at some point past that. Matt's here as well.
Hi.
Ben Barrett joining you for, well, we haven't done this for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we had to take a bit of time off for Gamescom.
Yeah, we weren't at Gamescom, we're not cool enough, but the camera team was at Gamescom, the camera was at Gamescom, and all of our attention was pointed in that direction. No doubt yours was as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then Matt's going to tell us why actually all the Mercy and D.Va changes are brilliant and great.
Yeah.
So we'll kick off with stuff from Gamescom. Okay, Gamescom. So they revealed Junkertown.
Yeah.
They showed it in a cinematic short. They showed an in-game short. They didn't show all the PTR changes, so we're going to come into those later. But we'll kick off with Junkertown. Map looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's essentially it's Mad Max the map, right? It's got all that
sweet.
weird sort of like Australian style dystopia kind of going on. Lots of giant pieces of metal just hammered into the wall.
Yeah.
That lovely kind of sandy sort of look, because obviously it's where Junkrat comes from, right?
Yeah,
It's
Junkrat and Roadhog's big old mountain home, as it were. And in the short that was about Junkertown, that we'll come on to in a second, they explained that that was why they kind of went on this whirlwind heist, because they wanted to get back in and blow it up. It's actually now on the PTR. I haven't had a chance to play it yet.
No, neither have I. I've only watched kind of like the run through of it, but it's a payload map, right?
Yeah, it's a payload map. I'm really glad they're adding more payload maps. I think payload is just the best game mode.
Yeah, it's my favourite.
I don't know if it's the best competitively. I don't know, if it has the most kind of interesting things, but it's the one that I always enjoy playing the most. I always have since like they added it to TF2. It's definitely the best game mode there. I think it has the most options because like kind of both sides are attacking and defending at the same time.
Yeah.
Which gives you a lot of different options there. And yeah, this map looks sweet. I watched some of the like people playing it at Gamescom. Didn't watch for ages, but it seems like there's plenty of options.
Yeah.
Nice amount of verticality, plenty of places to hide, and it has like indoor areas and outdoor areas and bits where it really contracts into kind of quite close fights and then bits that are a bit more open. So general good map design type things.
Oh, absolutely.
It also has the Junk Queen
Yes.
who voice-overed it was like the run-through trailer, right? And then there's a picture of her that's on the map itself, and if she's not the next character, listen, Jeff, I'm speaking to you. I know you watch, you lovely man. Next character. Throw out whatever you've got, Hammond, the monkey guy, or Athena or whatever. Throw all of that out. Junk Queen. That's what we want next. That's what's happening. So to introduce that, they had the in-game short.
Yeah, which is
cool.
Something that we've not seen before from Overwatch, but something that Blizzard have definitely done before. It's a big thing for World of Warcraft, right?
They do a lot in WoW, yeah.
Is like the cinematics that are made with the in-game assets. So these are this is the model of Junkrat and Roadhog that you play as, right?
Yeah, with like usually a little bit touched up,
Yeah.
and they can do different bits to it. But it is, it's not that ridiculous Pixar quality. But to be honest, at this stage, it's getting pretty close. Like when they used to do this with World of Warcraft, the first time they did it was I think back in Wrath of the Lich King. And you could very much tell the difference between, what that was and what this looks like. But with Overwatch having higher fidelity models anyway, because it's just a game with less things on screen at once, and with just the general improvements in the quality of graphics over time, there's not a lot of difference.
No, it reminded me actually a little bit of when Team Fortress used to do their character pieces. They were kind of done almost with their in-game sort of thing. That was closer to their actual graphics than a Pixar sort of thing. And so it looked like that. It was. I think the main thing is, though, it was genuinely very funny.
Yeah,
it made me laugh quite a lot.
Yeah, when I realised what was going on, it was like a decent length as well. So they've said they're going to do more of these. We can definitely expect more of these. These are now going to sit alongside the comics and the actual shorts themselves to tell more story of Overwatch, the maps and the hints that you see in game and whatever else they end up throwing out. I'm sure we'll get a novel eventually. They're going to sit alongside all of that, but I don't know if they'll all be this long. This one felt quite long. The ones in WoW are usually between 2 or 3 minutes long, but they also have to tie into the actual story of whatever's going on. They are a little kind of higher stakes sometimes. They don't, they're not telling quite comedic stories. They're usually like, here's something super serious that's happening in the world. So I think they've got a lot more freedom with these to create them, and that means that maybe they can happen a little bit faster. But I also wouldn't expect them to, be as long as that one, or as like revealing of new stuff as that one was.
I also think because obviously they don't cost as much to do as these, these Pixar quality cinematic shorts, it gives them perhaps a bit of a chance to experiment a little bit. Like yes, that introduced us to Junkertown, but kind of like it was a full-on kind of little comedy skit, right? And I like the idea that kind of like they could bounce between kind of like, well, what happens if we do try and tell something a little bit more serious and try that? And if it doesn't land, we can go and make some more kind of more skit stuff. It doesn't require the sheer amount of, like, if you're investing in the cinematic shorts, you need to make sure that's going to land.
Those seem to take like a good kind of, I don't know, 6 to 8 months to go from like 0 to having it in existence. That's why we only get them. Like, I think the last one was it Sombra?
Before,
it was, right?
Before Gamescom, yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously,
so I mean, you know, how long a wait was that? That is about 8 months, a bit more, even around 10. So yeah, like those take so long to make, and they are so long as well. Like the May one is like even longer than the Sombra one was, which was even longer than the one before that. They've been getting longer and longer, trying to do more storytelling with them. And so yeah, like I think the shorts are an important thing that they get to add to this, even if they are a little less good looking, and the animation isn't quite as good either because they've like, got more limitations there. But if they're also trying to do an entire series of Hearthstone animated shorts, which they also announced at Gamescom, which we won't go hugely into depth with, do recommend you watch it because it's quite weird, but
it's
quite great. It's brilliant. Yeah, if they try to do all of that as well as you know, they need to make a new WoW expansion cinematic for whenever the new expansion comes out. I'm sure they have other video games that they are making that, you know, they need to make these things for. Having the ability to have the shorts in there as well is really going to help us get more.
Yeah,
more
and
content.
it means it just sort of like in terms of the diversity of the game. Not only have you got this wonderful diverse cast, but that's represented by animes and Pixar style shorts and in-game shorts.
I forgot the Doomfist anime thing.
Yeah,
yeah, that was super weird.
You know, it's turning into like it's almost like a universe of different mediums, right? That tells the story of Overwatch.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, we got May shorts.
Christ,
it was quite sad, but then not quite so sad, but still quite sad. They also updated the map, the Antarctica map, so that you'd like the cups that she laid out are all now sitting there. Very sad, very sad. I'm sure everybody's seen it. We won't go over exactly what happens. Do go watch it if you haven't, for the love of God. Pause this video. Don't close this video, but you can pause this video. I'm okay with that. It wasn't about Zarya.
No, which is what, so like after they'd done almost like the Marvel post-credit stings.
Yes, the very kind of, here's what's happening next type deal. We were all expecting that.
Yeah,
and then not only was it not about Zarya, she wasn't in it.
Yeah.
There was no information about it. It wasn't set anywhere near her. It wasn't set in the same time frame as anything else that was.
I think if we don't get Zarya next time, we can just discount the idea that that was anything to set up a sort of like plot beat element.
Yeah, I think it was just people like Zarya.
Yeah.
Let's put her into this and you know, give a little bit of a hint.
Yeah, and it being set on Volskaya as well, it kind of needed her there to a degree.
Yeah, I think so, and that's fine. I think they don't want to tell people what the next one's going to be. I think they don't want people to know. I would be surprised if the next one wasn't Zarya, in the same way that I was surprised this one wasn't.
Yeah.
But I expect we will see an expansion of whatever it was that storyline was. But it might be a comic. It might be an in-game short or whatever. What's interesting as well is that like this is still at the start of the storyline. This is still in the same time frame as Recall.
Yes.
Which we're now what, like 2 years from launch, or like, well, I guess like a year and a half from launch. 2 years from when 3 years from when they started showing stuff about the game.
Yeah.
And 2 years from when people kind of started to get to play it. And we're still dealing with stuff that's, you know, that far back in the timeline.
Yeah, in terms
whereas the comics and stuff seem to be pushing it forward.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be really interesting. I kind of wonder if there's like a plan for sort of like when the cinematics start catching up and starting to push the actual narrative forward. Is there going to coincide with something maybe in the game? Is there going to be a big event that really does push forward the lore? Or
are we just going to see like cinematic shorts for kind of every character, and then, you know, one for every couple of new added characters and that sort of thing? Because at the rate that they create characters and other stuff, they would never actually have to push the storyline forward with cinematic shorts if they didn't want to. If they want to leave them to just have the freedom to kind of do what they like within that smaller time period, then they can. I think it's pretty clear to everybody now that whatever plan there was for the Overwatch story got chucked out pretty hard, particularly when Metzen left. You know, they cancelled that graphic novel. Yeah. We haven't really seen the storyline move forward very quickly. I don't know if it matters. Because the universe is very, very important to the game, but I don't know if an actual like story within that universe that goes from A to B to C and has twists and turns and a traditional plot structure actually matters as much as, and here's what's happening in Greece, and here's what's happening in, you know, whatever.
I think it's very much, it is a lore-focused universe as opposed to a narrative-focused universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a very good way of putting it. So we'll see what happens with that. We would expect to see another short at BlizzCon. We did see that last year because we had the Last Bastion at Gamescom and then we had Sombra at BlizzCon. It seems like they've managed to kind of cram two into that period by not having them earlier in the year, which is fine. We would also expect to see a new character at BlizzCon. We don't really know anything about what that might be.
Not an inkling, really.
No, not particularly. And all the leaks, so that there was a leak a while ago that was at least half correct on a bunch of different stuff that also predicted the May short. The last thing they talked about was Doomfist. They didn't speak about anything that was further along than that. A lot of other leaks seem like they were probably bollocks at this point, to be honest. So, I mean, when we get a bit closer to BlizzCon, we will have very much a preview episode, and then obviously once it's happening, you'll catch up with all of that over on the website. What also happened this week, literally yesterday, the 1.14 patch came out. You can read about it on the site. We're not going to go over all of that again. We've talked about it on this show as well. It was very entertaining. It's very good. I think everyone's going to be happy with the Junkrat changes. Maybe not everybody with the Roadhog changes. We'll see how those work out. But speaking of patches, 1.15 is on the PTR, and Matt's going to tell you why it's brilliant. Let's kick off with D.Va, Matt.
Okay.
Why is she great?
She's great. So basically now, the thing that I really love about her is that she can fly and shoot.
Yeah, fly and shoot.
Okay, so when you engage your boosters, you'll still be able to hold down trigger, unload your cannons. Yeah. What this means is that she's now essentially a fighter jet, right?
Yeah.
And so my favourite tactic with new D.Va is basically you've got a Farah and she's flying around, being a bit of a nuisance. Yeah. Boost up to her level, chase her, bang, 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 and it's like it's like. You haven't watched Dunkirk, have you?
No,
but it was just
exactly
reminding
like
me.
That,
yeah, it was just reminding me, having seen Dunkirk fairly recently, of the Spitfire scenes where they're chasing after Mr. Smiths and shooting down
when
enemies.
you start falling, you can still shoot at her, so it's not like you have to get her within the time.
Get some altitudes and sort of like it doesn't matter where you are.
It's fairly easy.
Yeah, the thing that it doesn't seem to do, which links into her new ability, is she's got micro missiles now, right? Which seem to be, they fire from kind of like up above on your sort of like...
Yeah, they're like on your shoulder pads and they go towards your cursor, but they're like...
Yeah, and it fires in like a salvo. That is really, really useful. It seems to, when you're flying, to sort of almost cut your boosters out a bit. I don't know whether that's just a bit of a glitch that will get changed, but it's certainly the whole sort of like, you know how she moves forward when she's in flight configuration? Yeah. That stops when you fire missiles, and it sort of seems to drop you off a bit.
Oh, interesting. Maybe they're still working on that.
Yeah.
It did feel like this PTR went a little earlier than they normally do. There was stuff like, and we'll come on to this stuff like some of the stuff with the Mercy changes were a little bit buggy or a little bit overpowered. They very much spoke about them as if they were quite experimental. So I do wonder, I mean, there's
so we'll see whether micro missiles stay in flight or whether they cut you off when that kind of element is finalized. But they're brilliant. I mean, they're a great new addition to D.Va. They kind of make sense. They're obviously pushing her into much more of an offensive kind of capability because now she can chase.
She's just kind of got a lot of health, but is really quick and does a lot of, does quite a lot of damage. Not as much as a really good aiming soldier.
Yeah,
or
she's not focused because obviously her actual spread on her cannon's quite wide because they're almost like shotguns, aren't they? Like a flat cannon.
You still have to get quite close.
Yeah. What I find that she's really good at now is she can dive on turrets. So part of like dive as a meta, diving on specific targets and take them down. If you fly into a target, so you've got like a tourbillon turret or you've got a bastion that's set up, fly in, constantly firing as soon as you get in really close range so that you know that your entire salvo will hit. Just unleash rockets and normally that'll get you the kill.
Yeah, because previously you dive on a turret and then the turret would kill you because the turret would just be sat there hitting it. Now you can actually get a little bit of burst damage.
Yeah.
It is interesting that they've made these changes because they about 6 months ago, and it's fine. So the thing about this is, it's fine for game developers to change their mind, particularly in response to feedback, which is what has happened here. That is okay. That is a thing that you should be happy about happening. But about 6 months ago, they said we don't want D.Va to have this kind of flanking play style. We want her to be more of a tank. Because she had a lot of health and was doing a lot of damage. Yeah. So they slowed. They slowed her? They just lowered her damage, right? Or
and they changed the amount of pellets that I think that the cannons fired and stuff like that.
And now she does more damage than that. She does a lot. Like if all those micro missiles hit, you take like 200 damage or something. But hitting all of those is quite challenging.
Yeah.
You can just move out of the way.
Yes.
They have a travel time. It's not like a shotgun. So I'm interested to see exactly where this lands. Speaking of exactly where it lands, well, there's the defense matrix now.
Yeah. I was just pointing in the fact that kind of like what I feel like is Reinhardt will come more into his own now because kind of like D.Va with the amount of defense matrix that she could use kind of stole any real point for having a Reinhardt with you.
It's so frustrating to play against as well.
Yeah. And the thing is now is, right, so if you've got a Roadhog, you used to be able to soak up his ults as D.Va.
Yeah, or like just a whole like Reaper ult.
Yeah. And it was just kind of, the thing you have to think of is as much fun as it is for you as a D.Va player. I play D.Va an awful lot. Yeah. And it's really fun for me to deny that ult, but like just imagine being a Roadhog and every time you do it, because D.Va's quite a common pick, right?
Yeah.
Every time you do that, there's someone there
can just
to
like dash
for
you down, and like also it is fun for you, but it's not like it's active.
Yeah.
Like you just go, well, press this button.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Yeah. So now basically,
direction.
yeah, D.Va basically, it's double the energy cost really. So essentially, it's effectively cut your defense matrix down by half. I think it's incredibly fair, especially considering that she's now such an offensive tank.
And you can use it like you can still use it. Like you
Yeah,
can still,
yeah.
as long as you're in the right
yeah.
place, you'll probably still be able to soak up most of a Reaper ult, or some amount of a Roadhog ult. So yeah, I think those are good changes. It'd be interesting to see where they land balance wise, and I think those, if they just went to live, wouldn't be a problem. What might be a problem is Mercy's changes. Now they've just redesigned the character, really, haven't they? They've like changed 2 abilities, and then one of the abilities changes all her other abilities.
I will point out that if there are a lot of people that are really, really worried about this. People, especially the people that haven't been able to try her out on the PTR. Yeah. I will point out that moment to moment, she's still Mercy. She still works.
Just mostly healing people.
Yeah, you are a healer, and the thing is like she's not like Zen or Lucio or Anna, in which case that she is like a half offensive, half kind of defensive sort of character, where they can constantly be switching between healing and shooting because they're ambidextrous or it's on the same gun or something like that. Mercy's not like that. She has to pull her blaster out and she has to move back to her staff, and that is a slow change. So she is entirely, really pretty much focused on doing the hills. Healer, so moment to moment, you're not going to notice like a huge difference. What you will notice is that you've got way more agency now, just because like Resurrect isn't your ultimate anymore. You can't pop that huge Resurrect.
You're not meant to just sit around until 5 people.
No, which is kind of so I didn't realise this until I was talking to you. I play Mercy in absolute load. She's my most played character, and I didn't realise that the prevailing tactic is that you essentially hide in corners waiting for your ult to build and then pop it when everyone dies. I didn't realise that was how people were playing it.
That's not fun.
No, because I'm constantly
intuitive.
I was playing some competitive this weekend, and I was like, you know what? As a defensive Mercy, I think she's incredibly stressful to play because you're constantly looking around and you're like, are you okay? Are you okay? No, you're not okay. So fly over here. Then no, you're no longer okay. So you're flying around.
Should you be damage boosting or healing? When and what?
And I like the fact that now, as part of that like patrol, I guess you're doing around your characters that you're allied with, is that you can now bring single targets back to life by tapping E. It's got a 30-second cooldown, but it means there's another element of your toolkit, and it just adds a little bit more to the tactical, like second-to-second job of playing Mercy. But obviously, the really interesting rework is Valkyrie, which is the replacement for Resurrect. So now, instead of your ultimate, you basically you pop Valkyrie and you can fly. Yeah,
it's a self buff. It changes all your abilities, makes you able to fly. When you're flying, it's really easy to control, right?
Oh yeah, it's
literally like they've turned no clip on.
Exactly. Like you look upwards and press W, you go forward and you fly up. Yeah, it's really, really good. It's not like playing a Pharah and using the hover system. It is free flight. When you use the heal beam, it chains between a couple of targets.
So this is really interesting to me because that is the one that sounds really, really powerful, and so they also changed the blaster and they're going to nerf it. Like they gave it like infinite ammo and it does more damage, and if you nano boost her while she's Valkyrie, she's basically the best character in the game at that point. That is not right. Like it's not how it should be. She's not meant to be a primary damage dealer. But because of that kind of got all the focus and worries about turning every character into a DPS character, whatever.
That's not the case.
The heal beam bouncing between characters and the damage beam bouncing between characters is hugely powerful. Like that turns her into a Lucio that is healing more than he does when he's boosting.
Yeah.
Sure, she doesn't have like his ult, which is a huge health buff for everybody, but it is so powerful to be able to do that.
And sort of like I think it only changes one to another character. I don't think you can go any further than that. But yeah, it is with the increase, like the amount of like little health bits that are popping off people when you're doing that. It's like, oh yeah, the doctor's here, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think because of how radical this change is, it's going to... I don't think you should expect Mercy to be in completely the right place until maybe 2 patches time.
I don't think so.
I think she's going to take a long time to work.
I think they might even not put these changes live when they put the D.Va changes live, and then hold these changes to live on the PTR in the next one.
Yeah, I think it needs a lot of testing, but what I will say is I'm really pleased they've just got rid of Resurrect. Like,
I think it was lame. I think it wasn't fun for anybody involved.
It's not like, so for example, like with a Reaper, I know you only press Q and you essentially get the same effects, but you've got to make sure your positioning is exact, and you get the really cool animations like that. Mercy's just almost like a thankless popping it, you bring 4 people
particularly
back.
Because it's like, you bring, like, particularly again in that optimal way of playing it, you would then just die. Like, because your team wouldn't get up in time to actually save you, and the other team would be looking at you. And it isn't fun for the enemy either, and like...
Oh yeah, as a May, if you've thrown down your snowball, like, you deserve that kill if you got all 5 of them in.
Exactly, yeah, and now what she can do is, you know, when you pick someone off that meant that you could have done that previously, she can now stop that from happening.
Yeah.
But she has to be smart enough to realise that's happened. You should still be saving your resurrect. Like, if 3 people are about to go down, and you just pop it on the first guy that dies, and that was a Widowmaker who's no use at the moment, you've messed up. Like, there's still a lot of skill in deciding exactly when to use that. So yeah, I'm excited about all of this. I'm waiting to see what they do with the blaster, waiting to see if they change her more. I mean, maybe these changes will be, you know, reverted, or they'll go with a different direction. But usually once stuff hits the PTR, it at least goes live in a similar way. So much more about that next week. We expect to see kind of what they're changing in that way. Jeff Kaplan also posted about some changes that are coming to the reporting system that they're planning on announcing soon. So I'll probably talk about that next week as well. But until then, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.